Hey guys, so today's video is going to be inspired by Kelly Driscoll. I will leave all her information down below. She does a lot of skincare videos, particularly skincare K-beauty related videos. She posted a video the other day and it was called like skincare hot takes I'm sick of. And I just thought that was such a great idea because I have plenty of hot takes in the beauty community that I could go my whole life without ever hearing again, and that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Obviously, we're not all gonna agree about the things I talk about in this video, and I definitely want to know your hot takes you're sick of down below in the comment section. The more the merrier. Let's get this conversation going. We need to be respectful about it, but I love open dialogue and open conversation. Before we get started, make sure you come follow me on Instagram, thumbs up the video if you enjoy it, and subscribe if you're new here. We talk about beauty, glowy stuff. All that being said, let's just get right into this. I will attempt to be brief, but no promises. Hello, have you met me? So I am going to be looking over at my notes. I apologize if that seems a little rude. But the first hot take that, and we got to get this out of the way first and foremost, because I think if you have this particular take on the beauty community, anything I say in this video is going to fall on deaf ears regardless. And that is that all influencers are lying if you disagree with them. Obviously, we have seen evidence in recent history of influencers who, from everything we can tell, yeah, they be lying. They got diabetes, they're diabetics. At the very least, if they're not flat out lying, they are so highly incentivized to have the perspective that they do because either they have a very close relationship with the brand or somebody involved with the brand. Maybe they don't want to burn any bridges. Maybe it's sponsored. Maybe it's PR. Maybe. There's tons of factors that go into this, which we'll talk about in a minute. Don't get ahead of me. But I don't know that just because some of those things are at play, it means they are liars. Yes, sometimes it can, and in the past, I think it's fair to say it did. It did seem to be that some people maybe were a little too overly incentivized, and that was evident in the fact that, in my opinion, the era I'm talking about, 2014 to 2019, especially towards closer to 2019, the products just were not even remotely good enough to warrant the amount of people fawning over them as hard as they were, especially when they threw in a use my code. Like, that's where the whole affiliate code thing kind of got on my damn nerves back in the day. It did make me question whether this product could be very good. Just because you have an affiliate code alone makes me think it's probably not. But again, that was from a different era. That was when companies were just releasing so much shit, and I do mean that. It was shit. So I get it. You know, if you got burned in the past, you tried some new things that your favorite influencers recommended, you spent your hard-earned money, it showed up, you tested it, you thought it was garbage, perhaps you started to kind of look at that influencer and be like, you gotta be straight up lying. And maybe they were. But here's something I want you to consider. Let me tell you a personal story, because this happened to me, and I have seen this happen to many other influencers. I've seen this in many other comment sections. I've seen many people kind of accuse someone of lying about a product simply because the accuser in question themselves did not like the product. So take this journey with me. Many years ago, like 10 years ago, I made a video about MAC. At the time, MAC Cosmetics was one of the biggest brand. She was that bitch. I've said it before. MAC used to be something you ain't never seen before. I always tell my daughter, like, you will never see the fame and craze and chokehold Britney Spears had on our country circa 2003 if you were not there. Like that whole era when she was at the peak of her fame. I do not think my daughter will ever see anything like that because the internet, we have so much access to celebrities, so many different people vying for our attention. Britney was just the last of a dying breed, essentially. We'll never see anything like that again, in my opinion. I feel like MAC is kind of the same way. If you didn't come of age when MAC was what it was, then you can't appreciate it. Now, back then, I made my MAC favorites video. Please don't watch it. I had pizza under my nails the whole time, like a disgusting little trash goblin. Please don't judge me if you see that, but I didn't realize it till way later. Anyway, in that video, I was rounding up my favorite MAC products because people always wanted to know what to get at MAC. And one of the things I mentioned was MAC Fix Plus. It's actually over there right now. I still have it. I always have it. And someone got in my comment section. This is very early in my social media career. I just was so befuddled by this. Someone got in my comment section and told me that MAC Fix Plus is a nothing product. It does nothing. It's useless, and I need to stop lying to my subscribers. Now, if you've been in the beauty community for any length of time at all, if you've ever been a pro makeup artist, if you've ever used MAC Fix Plus, you know that is objectively not a crap product. It does actually a ton of things. Like I said, it's still something I buy to this day. it is objectively not a bad product. In fact, it was one of the first setting sprays even available on the market back then. So the fact that this person was coming at me and accusing me of lying to my subscribers simply because I didn't agree with what I had to say really kind of had my goat for a minute, but I've seen it so many times since then. It happens to me regularly, even to this day. If I have a perspective on beauty or a product or a skincare line and I say everything I know about it, which by the way, I can't stress this enough, you guys, I can't speak for other influencers, but if I get on here and talk to you about something, I know what I'm talking about. I might have heard a conversation you haven't heard, I might have seen a study you haven't seen, but that doesn't mean that I'm lying to you. And I think that is where I get annoyed with this hot take. Like I recently had a video where I talked about a product and a product line and a type of product, and someone told me in the comment section that I was insulting my viewers' intelligence by saying that. Meanwhile, all I do offline is study beauty. I'm listening to podcasts, I'm reading about it. Like just because this person maybe hadn't seen the information I had, and vice versa, you know, I haven't seen the information they have, it doesn't mean I'm lying. It just means we have a different perspective. We will get into this in a later point, but that type of attitude about social media, this idea that people are lying to me, is so fascinating simply because it really does make it all about you. If you think the whole internet is lying about to you because you disagree with what they're saying, I don't know, man. I think you need to like get off the internet, go touch some grass, and realize that there's just so many opinions out here that may or may not line up with your own. And one thing I have a big problem with, I'll probably get into more later on in this video, I really hate the loss of autonomy that comes with the idea that influencers are lying to you. I think what that implies is that if you make a decision about your life, about how you spend your money, and that doesn't work out for you, what it basically does is say, well, that's not on me, that's on them because they're liars. Like we all really have to take accountability for how we spend our time, our money, and our energy. And it just bores me to tears to keep hearing the same argument regurgitated over and over and over again. We're gonna get into another one kind of along the same lines in a moment. Like with the Mac Fix Plus thing, I just think it's important to understand people are not going to always say what you believe to be true, but it doesn't make them liars. Like I am not lying about Mac Fix Plus objectively just because this person did not like the product, but you'd be surprised how many narratives get formed around the business of influencing in general that are dependent on the idea that we all must be lying. It's so fascinating to me because like I said, everybody stays on their phone all the time. If you look around when you go out, everybody's on their phone. What are they watching? Content creators who must all be lying? Why are you watching it? Like, I don't understand. It's so interesting the way people seem to have such a love-hate relationship with the very content they spend most of their waking hours consuming. I don't know. But anyway, here's the last point I want to make here to leave you with to kind of sum up how I feel. So piggybacking on the Mac Fix Plus thing, another good example of what I mean when I say just because something doesn't work for you or you don't like something doesn't mean people are lying to you. I recently discovered the perfume area on the beauty community, like all the perfume girlies, and I was just transfixed. I was watching so many of the videos, and these people are like sommeliers. You ever been to a bougie restaurant that the sommelier comes out and talks to you about wine, and he talks about this wine has notes of oak and cedar and tobacco, and it just tastes like wine to you. You're like, okay, great. Well, hi, I'm drunk. That's all I need. That's how perfume is, turns out, because I'm watching these videos and these content creators are up there and man, they are transporting me to another time and place, talking about this fragrance has notes of bergamot, vanilla, chocolate, musk, rose. There's a little bit of caramel and amber, and you hear all these things that sound great and smell good, and you're like, hell yeah, add to cart, add to cart. Girl, I bought like 8 perfumes off these videos. 8. I like 2. I like 2 of them because they came in and I was like, no, not only does this not smell like what they said it smelled like, but it doesn't smell good to me at all. And that is because my frame of reference is much different. I do not have 400, 500, 600 bottles of perfume, and I don't have this vocabulary. I still don't know what ciliage means. Like, it's a whole other world over there. And just because my dumb ass bought 8 bottles of $30 perfume so I could see what all the hype was about and ended up not liking any of them, it doesn't mean those people are liars. That's not what that means. It was me. It was me. Totally got influenced, and that's my fault. Doesn't make them liars. Now, again, like I said, I know there's a period of time where maybe there's a little bit more disingenuous reviews going around, and certainly a time when over incentivization, why can't I figure out what this word I'm trying to say is, where people were overly incentivized to promote things the way that they were. Obviously that time existed. And of course we have full-blown scammers out here. Hello. I don't think the perfume girlies were lying to me. I just think that they're much more educated. They have a different passion, a different skill set. They're just like a bunch of, I don't know, like if the beauty community is school, then the perfume girls are the math teachers. I suck at math. I don't like math. I don't want anything to do with math. It's not my thing. Turns out my time as a fragrance influencer was very short-lived. It's not for me. I don't know. I don't have the nose for it. It's not my thing. The next hot take I'm sick of hearing is that Morphe is an objectively bad brand. It's almost like a sin to like Morphe. And it's even worse to try to tell everyone like, hey y'all, let's back off the Morphe hate. And coming from me, that is wild, because there was definitely a period of time where I was just like, don't talk to me about Morphe. I don't want to hear it. It's trash and we all know it. But let me tell you why I had that perspective and why that perspective has changed. I predate the active beauty community, which I feel like started in 2014, by about 7 years. I saw my very first YouTube beauty tutorial in 2008, and I've been watching beauty content ever since. And in that time, from about, I don't know, we'll say 2010, 2011 is when I got a lot more invested. So we'll just say, to be fair, around 2010, so that's 4 years before I know personally I ever heard Jaclyn Hill mention Morphe. So for 4 years before that, I was aware of this little brand called Coastal Scents, who private labeled, cheaply made, but very affordable, huge eyeshadow palettes and brushes. You could order them off eBay from Coastal Scents. They also had a website. Y'all remember the Coastal Scents 88 matte, 88 shimmer palette? Like, I had them all. I loved them. I bought face palettes from them, blush palettes, because when I had no money to buy makeup, that was the best way for me to get to play with things and try different looks and different textures. Same thing with brushes. So when Morphe came out in 2014, I was just like, wait a minute. Like, I thought we went through this era already, and I know it's called Morphe and it's not called Coastal Scents or BH Cosmetics, but let's call a spade. That's what this is. It's the same thing. So I was turned off by it immediately. Not to mention, there were tons of influencers who would do things like slap on $100 foundations, $90 lip products, and really were letting us know that they had the coin to slap and throw around on luxury makeup. But then in the same video, in the same favorites video, they're raving about this expensive product and how it's just like tears from the gods and the nectar of Mother Earth herself. And then they'd go to Morphe's shitty stuff and be like, this is amazing, use my code. Like, I just knew. I was like, I already know what's up. And then even as I went to try some of Morphe's stuff circa 2017, 18, I was distinctly underwhelmed. The next thing on the coffin for me with Morphe was when Jaclyn Hill released her collabs with them. And I'm not even talking about the Vault or the JH2 palette. I'm talking about the first releases. These white-handled brushes and the original Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette, right? For years, we had heard Miss Hill on and on and on and on and on and on and on about how Morphe shadows were blendable and buttery and pigmented, and the brushes were soft and like, just couldn't say enough good things about this brand and these particular products. And then she releases her collab with them, and I can tell you, me personally, these brushes were 25 million times better than the original core line for Morphe, to the degree where I felt pissed. I was like, all right, Miss Hill, so you're telling me, you're telling all of us that these brushes, these Morphe brushes are the best thing ever, but when you release a line with them, they've significantly been improved on, which to me says, you know, these brushes need a lot of work to be better, because when you make some, they are better. And these were really good. Same thing with the original Jaclyn Hill palette. It was better than any of the other Morphe palettes I had ever tried. And if I'm thinking about it, yeah, at the time, and I think even since, it's the best Morphe formula they've released ever. Is that true? Yeah, I don't think they've released a formula as good. They changed Jaclyn Hill's formula at some point. We all know how that went. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, I can see where Morphe got its bad reputation from. Like, it didn't make any sense to me. Again, the influencers they worked with were super, I don't not like the word problematic. I actually hate it. But they were sketchy, super sketch. And the fact that influencers were releasing collabs with them that were significant improvements on the core line told me those influencers themselves knew that they had to bring something a little bit, come a little bit more correct if they were going to put their name on it. That's just my conspiracy theory, allegedly. Now, this has changed for me, okay? I think that Morphe is actually a pretty good brand now. Do I think they're ever going to be able to get their good name back? No. I really don't. The only way they're getting their good name back is if they start releasing some staple products. Like, you're going to have to release like your version of Tarte Shape Tape. You're going to have to release your version of the Anastasia Brow Freeze. Like, you're going to have to bring several things to the market that universally everyone agrees are impeccable products and not just good for the price. Good, period. And I don't know, there's so much good stuff out there right now. I don't know how they could possibly compete at this point. But every time I go into Ulta, I check out the Morphe section, and everything they're releasing these days that I've swatched and tested and looked at, I think are good products. Are they the best products on the market in those categories? No. But compared to where they were back when I was sick to effing crap of them, yeah, I think they have come a long way. But I just don't think at this point, if an influencer comes out and is talking about Morphe positively, that it's fair to say they must, kind of going back to our first point, that they must be lying, because I do think Morphe is a better brand. Much better. Now, it's a shame that they're in bankruptcy and their stores closed and all that kind of stuff. It didn't fare well for them, but I think, you know, they hurt and they learned some lessons, and it seems like they took it back to the drawing board and improved. And for example, their Vegan Pro brushes, these black ones with the long, I don't know, something about these long, like skinny, elegant handles do it for me. They went back to the drawing board and they came out with some better stuff. Also, everybody loves, excuse me, the Makeup by Ariel collab they did. So they've done some better things, some significantly better things. Their new kind of liquid blushes and cream blushes are beautiful. Their lip glosses are really nice. Like, they're doing stuff, but I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever get their good name back, and I don't know if there will ever be a time ever again where anyone can get on camera and say Morphe is a good brand or this Morphe product is good and anyone's going to believe you. They ruined it for all of us, but I do get tired of the hot take that Morphe is a bad brand. I think they've actually straightened up quite a bit. So this isn't really a hot take. I don't know. I don't know anyone who is saying this thing I'm about to argue against, but I just wanted to speak on it. I don't give a shit about the Allure Best of Beauty Awards. Do any of you guys? I do not. The name Allure once upon a time meant something, especially pre-social media, pre-internet days. For me, especially, again, back in the day, all we had was magazines, and Allure was to makeup what Vogue is to fashion. Like, that is where you went to get the skinny, you wanted the tea, you want to know what the trending topics, products, what the looks are. Everyone went to Allure for that. It was kind of what made them unique. It was a beauty magazine specifically. That's why Allure is the one who does Best of Beauty. The problem is Allure has not changed with the times at all. In fact, in 2017, when the KKW Beauty Contour Sticks won Best of Beauty, that's when I knew the jig was up, and I was never going to listen to a recommendation from Allure again, because those products, the contour sticks, were universally panned. And I don't just mean like, oh, the big influencers didn't like it. Nobody liked it. Nobody. If you knew anything about beauty whatsoever, you knew those were not good products. And the brand had not been around very long. The product itself had not been around very long. So for a first time product launch from a new brand to immediately get best of with a product that universally was panned, I knew that they didn't care. I knew they didn't care. I assume they go off of sales. I'm assuming it's sales if it's not directly paid placement, which I have a theory, conspiracy theory. This is just what I think. Allegedly, KKW paid for that Best of Beauty spot, because again, if it's reader focused, like if it's a voting system, I do not buy for 1 second on planet Earth that product was the best of for anyone. So I don't think it was reader based. Like I said, it's either sales based, because I'm sure the KKW contour sticks sold out. Everyone just was curious. Or in the KKW case, I think it was bought and paid for. So I don't know. Again, this isn't a super hot take, but I do see Allure seals of approval all over the place. And sometimes I do get on allure.com just to see what they're talking about. And I cannot believe that it's so boring. I really can't. They have all the resources in the world at their disposal, and their takes on beauty, their recommendations, the conversations they're having. Influencers are just having them faster, more interesting, and more dynamically. That could just be the fact that it's such a massive corporation they can't keep up, and there's all this legal red tape that obviously an influencer doesn't have to contend with, but it's a shame. And I think if Allure really wanted that seal, that Allure Best of Beauty seal, to mean anything to their core audience, which would be beauty nerds, then they need to go back to the drawing board and actually do some legwork and at least present, if it's not best of beauty, like new in beauty, bring something to us that we can't get elsewhere. But maybe that's the point of the best of beauty. It's just for people who don't want to do the lead work and figure out what they actually like and what would work specifically for them. They just want to, you know, okay, Allure said this is a good setting spray, so I'm just going to buy it. It takes a lot of guesswork out of it. So for that reason, I see the function of it. But overall, you guys tell me, do y'all care about the Allure Best of Beauty Awards? It feels like it should be like the Oscars for us, but I don't think anyone gives a shit. And that's a shame. So my last hot take for the day might be the most inflammatory. We'll see. The hot take I keep seeing everywhere is one of two things. The hot take is either influencers are ruining your life. I know this is kind of piggybacking on the first point. I told you we'd be expanding on it. Or pretty privilege is ruining your life. And the pretty privilege one in particular, I take such umbrage with. We'll get into in a minute. But I see this all the time. And there are so many reasons I don't like this perspective. I know there's a good chance I'm in the minority here, okay? I understand I have a vested interest in you guys liking influencers and liking pretty stuff. I get it. But as a whole, it's a tired hot take. I think everyone has said it 1,000 times, and it just seems like a dead horse people keep trying to beat on because it gets eyes on their content. I don't so much take issue with the content creators who keep recycling that tired ass talking point, because hey, hello, you got to make money, you got to get your name out there, and I get it. But I think what does bother me about it is when you look at the numbers of who watches it. The numbers for those types of videos or reels are really high, and typically when a piece of content resonates enough for views to get up there, it's because the topic is resonant. It means that a lot of people agree. Now, conversely, some people will go to a piece of content and drive up the engagement because they adamantly disagree. But this is the one situation where I think we can all agree that most people who watch the content that's talking about pretty privilege is ruining your life, influencers are ruining your life, social media is ruining your life, those are people who do agree with that statement. Because I can't imagine a world where there is just this huge online force of like beauty YouTuber apologists just going down in the comment section and like fighting for our good name. I already know that's not what it is. Like, we know it's people who agree. And look, the conversation around pretty privilege has been pretty popular for a while. The whole conversation around beauty as an oppressive system has been a conversation for a long time. And believe me, I get why, because I used to make a case for the same things once upon a time. This was like 3-4 years ago, so I kind of can't believe people are still like trying to get water out of that content. Well, I feel like we've said this already, but I know the arguments people make against beauty and against pretty privilege because I've made them before. I made a video in 2021 where all I did for like 30, 40, 45 minutes, and it took me like a week to make this video, was talk about all the aspects of the beauty community and beauty as a culture and pretty privilege, all the ways that it was toxic and it was harming us. Meanwhile, I am a huge beauty nerd and always have been. I have been obsessed with it from a small age. I love everything about it. But here I am in 2021 making this video, wagging my finger at the internet and at the beauty companies at large, telling them why this thing that I love so much is actually bad for us. It screwed with my head, man. Like it kind of made me feel sad because I felt responsible in a way for participating in this system, which I had just outlined very clearly was in fact a bad thing. So it was like an identity crisis I was having. It was like either I am complicit in my own oppression by liking lip gloss, or I'm extremely full of shit. Those are the two options. And I kind of walked away from that learning a little bit about myself and how much responsibility I am handing over to companies and influencers for my own behavior, my own feelings, and my own participation in this thing. And I think that's what a lot of that type of content does. If you are, and I understand this is hyperbolic, I get it. I know that the people who make the type of content, I think, are not literally trying to make the case for the fact that your life sucks because of influencers. I think that's what they're trying to say. I don't watch the content. I can't be bothered. It's too, I don't know, it's annoying, it's repetitive, everyone says the same thing. It's just not for me. Not for me. Sorry. No tea, no shade, not for me. Like I said, I've made that content before. I understand how it works. I get the benefit of it. And it's okay, obviously, to have dissenting opinions. Just because I'm in the beauty community does not mean I have to agree with everything everyone says all the time. So yeah, there should be pushback to some ideas and concepts every so often. However, I also find that for people to be agreeing with the idea that pretty privilege, and we'll focus on pretty privilege in particular because we kind of talked about influencers already, but if pretty privilege is ruining your life, what that says to me, that if you resonate with that, is that you feel you're locked out of that pretty privilege is locking you out of or stopping you from having the life you want or having the experiences you want. And I think that bothers me because it's almost like you are mad about something that is made up. When I say made up, I'm not saying that pretty privilege isn't made up. I'm not saying that better looking people don't get more out of life than not good looking people do. That is a fact. It's clear. It's obvious, but nobody is locked out of it. That's what is made up. You are not locked out of pretty privilege. Everyone has access to it. Beauty, being hot, is a skill. Yes, there are some people, Nepo babies, the Kendall Jenners of the world, supermodels. I've told you guys this before. I used to work on models when I was a makeup artist, and I don't care what anybody says. I've heard many people say, oh, it's all Photoshop and Facetune. Nah, dog. Models are otherworldly specimens. And if you've never seen a model in real life, you might not understand what I'm saying. They are stunning. I love models, you guys. I love them. It's crazy. I'm obsessed. They're like Barbies, like beautiful, vibrant, gorgeous Barbies I used to get to play with in real life. So much fun. But they are born that way. That's why they're models. Just because they are born that way, that's like a tiny percentage of the human population. I'd be willing to bet if there was some way to quantify beauty, naturally beautiful people would amount for like 1 to 2% of the population in the whole world. It's rare. That's why it is so celebrated. Other than that, it don't matter. Anyone can be pretty or hot. It's literally a skill. Hello, that's literally what beauty YouTubers are teaching you how to be hot. We're out here doing all the legwork, testing all the stuff, trying all the stuff, wasting our lives away and being oppressed by the patriarchy just so we can tell you how to turn some heads next time you go to your corporate Christmas party. Like, hello, you're welcome. But I just kind of hate this idea people have that just because a Kendall Jenner exists, that means Kendall Jenner is now responsible, and the practice of pretty privilege and the existence of it is now responsible for your life not being the way you want it to be, when, as I just said, beauty is just effort 9 times out of 10. More often than not, that's what it is. And just because you can't put all the effort in the world or all the money in the world to it doesn't mean that you're not currently benefiting from it or that you couldn't. Everyone knows this, okay? I can't believe I have to say this, but if you get up in the morning, spend an extra 20 minutes on your hair, an extra 10 minutes on your makeup, take a few more minutes to put together a cute outfit, spray your best perfume, you are going to immediately feel better about yourself, and the world is going to react different to you. The same person could get up and do none of those things and have a very different day. That is what we're talking about when we talk about pretty privilege. Some people just really believe that if they cannot have Kendall Jenner's level of pretty privilege, that there's no benefit to participating in it at all. I am not one of those people. If you want to be hot, I will teach you. It is a skill. I can't say it enough, and it's one worth learning. Now, it's not the only skill worth learning, and it's definitely not going to be a better skill set or a better type of privilege than other ones that people have access to. People born into money, people who are born super naturally smart, people who are naturally athletic. These are all privileges they have as well, but for some reason, privileges that are in the feminine realm of things, people just got a real big problem with for some reason. This is like our little thing we get to have as women and gays or whoever wants to participate in it. It's like our one little thing, and yet it is something that the internet at large feels the need to tear down and make other people feel guilty for wanting, and it just bothers me. I think here's what it is. We have these conversations where we're like, women are smart and strong and powerful and we can do anything, except when certain women choose certain paths or certain interests. Suddenly those women must be too stupid to know that, again, they are participating in their own oppression. Like, that's what I don't like about it, especially because the types of people who are trying to sell you on the idea that pretty privilege is ruining your life, it seeks to benefit them. Like, they're gonna get more attention, more eyes on them, more AdSense revenue from it, and you're gonna walk away from it feeling like, well, I shouldn't even bother, I'm not Kendall Jenner. I don't like it. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to come from a biased bag or whatever, but like I said, I don't like the idea of people feeling locked out of something that they are absolutely invited to participate in and can find joyful participation in doing so. Like, it is fun if you want it to be. If it's not, if you are the type of person who feels like you can't enjoy your quality of life because you think your nose is too big or you think your body type is not what the whole world identifies as beautiful, then that is a you thing. I'm not saying it's right or wrong or it's true or it's not, but that is your cross to bear and your thing to work out. Either you change it or you learn to live with it, but it's not because pretty privilege is ruining your life. Nothing can ruin your life or have that much control over you unless you willingly hand it over. So again, I know that it's hyperbolic to say ruining your life. I get it. But again, it's not so much the creators that I worry about, it's the viewers of that type of content that I worry about, because there's just such a market out there now for bad news. And I hate to be the bearer of good news here for a second, but you can have and do literally anything you want. You can. I know there's a lot of video essayists out here who are making lots of money trying to convince you that everything is working against you and everything is horrible, but it's not true. And again, I talk about feminine and masculine energy a lot. And if you look at the practice of beauty, it's all about sensation. It's all about sensuality. It's textures, it's colors, the packaging is beautiful. It feels nice on your skin. It smells good. People who are in the presence of a beautiful woman or a beautiful anything, a beautiful home, a beautiful hotel, a beautiful sunset, it creates a sensory experience in either the person participating in the beauty, like I said, applying it, so to speak, or perceiving it. It's a feeling it ignites inside of us, which means it's a feminine thing. Anytime there is a feminine thing that takes over or gets some sort of prestige, or in this case privilege, it's immediately dismantled and looked at as frivolous and silly and hurting women. And that's the masculine of it all, trying to do what it does, is take stuff and control it and put it in little boxes, and then try to take the effort of compartmentalizing and assigning a hierarchy of things, using that little system they've created as a marker of anything. It's all made up. It doesn't mean anything. I guess what I'm trying to say in a very inarticulate way, the participation in pretty privilege or the beauty community is intended to and should be done so through the perspective of feminine divine. If it is not giving you joy, making you feel some type of way, getting you in touch with your body and in touch with pleasure, then you shouldn't be participating in it. If that's the case, yes, I understand why some people think it's ruining their lives. But again, that's only because the masculine has come in and literally tried to quantify it. You're a 10, you're an 8, you're a 7. But it only matters if you listen to it. If you give it weight, it controls you. If your perspective is like, nothing ruins my life, Whitney can ruin my life all day, every day. Influencers can't, pretty privilege can't, consumerism can't, like, none of that can unless you allow it to. And I feel like this type of content and this type of talking point and this hot take really robs women of their autonomy and makes it seem like it's not your fault, honey. Kendall Jenner exists. That's why that guy wouldn't ask you out. Pretty privilege. I freaking hate it. I'm sorry. I know it's not popular. But yeah, I just hate the idea of people feeling powerless in a situation that they actually have quite a lot of power in. Again, like I said, your choices around the pretty privilege thing are either change what you don't like or learn to live with it. Learning to live with something you don't like is a skill that most adults have to master at some point anyway. Anything has exactly the amount of power that you bestow upon it. And with the pretty privilege thing, the more times I see people engaging in the conversation around it and freaking out about it, the more I'm just like, you guys know you can get some for yourself too. Just because you can't have all of it doesn't mean you can't have some. And there is inherent benefits to it. Sorry, I don't know. I hate to be the bearer of good news, but like I said, everyone is beautiful and can be as beautiful as they want. All right, guys, all I have for you today. I will definitely have to do a part 2 because there are more hot takes I would love to discuss. And more than anything, I want yours. I want to know what your hot takes are or the hot takes you're sick of. I could do a whole video just reacting to y'all's comments here. I will shout you out, all the things. Let me know what the beauty hot takes you're sick of are. I would love to discuss it further. But all that being said, I hope you're having an amazing day and I will catch you in the next one.